Okay, grade sevens, our first video is on multiplying decimals. And so I'm going to share my screen and take you through this so that you have this as a resource for when you're studying for your quiz or test. So I'm going to flip my ink to a different color, and I'm going to start with the first problem to the left of your screen, 3.5 or 3 decimal point 5. I'm not really concerned with how you read that, multiplied by 3. So the first thing I want you to do when you approach a question like this is ignore the decimal point. I know that sounds really odd, but it's just going to get us a little bit confused if we think about it right away. So we're just going to pretend it's not here for a second, and we would approach this multiplication question in the same way we would approach it if it didn't have the decimal point. So 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. Oops, need to switch to my pencil, my apologies. And we carry the 1. 3 times 3, or 3 multiplied by 3, is 9, plus the 1 that we've carried over, so that's 10 down here. Now we're going to take a look at where that decimal point is in our original question. Our decimal point is between the 3 and the 5 in this question. And what we're going to be concerned with is how many numbers are to the right of this decimal point, to the right. So if this was a hit song, instead of singing to the left, we would sing to the right. I know I'm dating myself. So we always look to the right of the decimal, never to the left. Okay. So to the right, to the right. So we're looking at right here is there is one number to the right of the decimal point. So looking at our answer down here, we take a look at placing our decimal so that there is one number to the right of it. So our decimal appears between the 0 and the 5. So we place it there, ensuring that there's one number to the right of that decimal point, which matches the first line of our equation. So 3.5 times 3 becomes 10.5 in this equation. So let's do it again for our second equation. 2 times 5 is 10. So we have our 0 down here. We carry the 1. 6 times 5, or 6 multiplied by 5, is 30, plus our 1. So we have 31 down here. Again, we're going to look at how many numbers are to the right of our decimal. So we're locating our decimal, which is between the 6 and the 2. And there is one number to the right of our decimal point. So placing our decimal point would make sense if we place it between the 1 and the 0. And our final answer for 6.2 times 5 is an even 31. So we have 31 as our answer down here. So let's kick it up a notch. Doing this problem together, we have 2 multiplied by 5. Again, we're approaching it as if the decimals weren't there, and it's 0, and carry the 1 because the answer is 10. 5 times 5 is 25, plus the 1 that we've carried. So our 6 comes down here, and our 2 moves up here. The 2 times 5 is 10, plus the 2 that we've carried over. We remain our 2 down here. We carry our 1. 1 times 5 is 5, plus our 1 is 6. Now, our golden rule for mathematics always is if we begin a second line of multiplication in our results, we always start with a 0, always, it never changes, okay? 2 times 2 is 4, so we place our 4 down here. 5 times 2 is 10, we place our 0 down here. We carry that 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus that 1 that we've carried over, equals to 5, right here. And 1 times 2 is 2. So our 2 comes over here. We are going to add this up. So we're just going to draw a line, and we're going to switch over to my different ink. 0 plus 0 is 0. Oh, that's his line, not a pencil. My apologies. Give me 1 second. Okay, so 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 4 is 10. We carry the 1 over. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we have the 3. So we're just continuing in this manner all the time, okay? Just the same manner as you would do it in any other way. So 6 plus 5 is 11. We place the 1 down here. We carry the 1 over, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So now we need to go back to the first equation. up here our original problem and look at how the decimals are. Well, we're hit with a different situation here. We have not one, but we have two decimal points in this equation. The first decimal point appears in line 1 of our equation between the 2 and the 5, and the second decimal point appears in line 2 between the 2 and the 5. So we need to take into account both decimal points. We can't ignore one or the other. So we need to look at how many spaces or how many numbers are after the decimal point in our first line. Well, there are two. The 5 and the 2 follow after this decimal point. In our second line of the equation, there's only one number after our decimal point. So we can't ignore either of these, and you can make yourself a little note as you're doing the math, or if you feel like you're strong enough to remember that, that's great too. So I'll make myself a little note. I'm going to say there's two numbers to the right of my first line, and there is one number to the right of my second line. So I can't take the average. I can't use only one. I have to use two. Both decimals are important. So the 2 plus 1 is 3. So I need to ensure that in my answer line, there are three numbers to the right of the decimal point. So I'm going to switch back to my ink, make sure that there's 3 numbers to the right of my decimal point. 1, 2, 3. That's what I used to do when I was young, is I used to actually draw it out physically, 1, 2, 3, to make sure I was right. But you definitely don't need to use that if you don't need it. If you can see it and you can place it, that's great. Okay. So that's just a little trick for some of us visual learners. So our final answer for this equation of 12.52 times 2.5 is 31.3. And there we have mastered the art of multiplying using decimals. Thanks, guys.